Welcome to the Princeton Podcast, where we talk about upcoming events, news, and local businesses. This is Princeton. Play here, stay here.
Before we get started today, just a reminder to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We're also recording on YouTube, so be sure to subscribe at This is Princeton MN.
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to our first Princeton podcast. This is actually going to be quite an exciting one. We actually have two guests today. But beforehand, I wanted to just say today's podcast is brought to you by Princeton Public Schools. And before we introduce our new guests, I would like to introduce you guys as hosts. Starting off with me, my name is Zach Kitzman. I graduated here in Princeton in 2014. Just recently married, lived here all my life, and actually just started building a house with my father and my newlywed. So it's been a good experience. Mary?
Hi, my name is Mary Patnode with Innovative Communication Strategies, also a proud graduate of Princeton Public Schools. 98 is great. Go Tigers. I think it's also important to note that I am Kim's youngest sister.
And that brings me to me, Kim Young. Actually, 88 is great. That was the year I graduated from Princeton Public Schools. I'm the executive director at the Princeton Area Chamber of Commerce and Tourism. And like I said, I graduated from Princeton, raising three boys, four if you include my husband. And two have graduated. My youngest is a senior this year. So just wanted to let you know that how this is going to work each time is we're going to start by letting you know about the events going on around town. And so we're going to start with events. Here we go. All right, so on February 10th and 11th, there is a big archery tournament that's going to be hosted here in Princeton at the Princeton Middle School. There are something like 900 families or teams or something. There's a lot of people coming to that. So February 10th and 11th, check out the archery tournament at Princeton Middle School. February 16th is the Chamber's Puzzles, Pizza, and Pub Night, which is going to be occurring during our online silent auction, which will be going on February 13th through 19th. So you can find a link to that online auction on our website, or you can find it on our Facebook page. And the Puzzles, Pizza, and Pub Night is where teams of 4 are going to compete to be the first team to complete a 300-piece puzzle, eat a large pizza, and drink 8 beers, and be the first one to do it. So we are full for that event. We're really excited about that happening on the 16th. And then on February 26th, the Princeton Lions are hosting the Gerald Bozer Memorial Ice Fishing Contest. And we have a special guest here today to tell us more about it. Welcome, Scott Leisman.
Well, thank you. And class of 76 is number 1.
Oh, 76!
Also a Princeton graduate.
Oh, he is the eldest at the table now, Kim.
I guess, yeah.
So thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm here to talk a little bit about the fishing contest. And this is our 36th annual, and we've called it the Gerald Bozer Memorial because Lion Gerald Bozer passed away here a few years back, and their family wanted to be involved with this, and they've each made a donation to the event. We've got, I got James Bozer, who lives up in Grand Rapids area. He donates a fishing trip. He's a guide up that way. And I think I did that wrong. We got James in Elk River. Jason Bozer.
Jason, I couldn't get it either. Jason.
Rapids.
Yep.
James in Elk River donates some cash. And then the daughter, help me with that. Kelly McBroom. She and her husband donated fire rings.
Nice.
So they made some custom Princeton Lions fire rings that we're doing for that. So for 10 years, we got a Gerald Bozer Memorial Ice Fishing Contest in honor of him.
Oh, nice.
He was real instrumental in this fishing contest. So our contest, you tell me if you want me to change or stop or just keep going here, but our contest, as you said, is February 26th. It's going to run from 1 to 4 o'clock. It's on Green Lake. Between Princeton and Cambridge. I'm sure most of the people listening here would know that, but there's several Green Lakes in the state, so we want you to make sure you come to the right one. We've got several things that we're doing this year. One thing we changed up this year is we've got our ticket to get on the lake is also a $10,000 cash raffle prize. So that $10,000 we're giving away is over 51 different prizes. There are 3 $1,000 winners, 4 $500 winners, 4 $250 winners, and I think that leaves 40 $100 winners to get to $10,000.
So that's in addition to the contest itself.
Yep. So if you buy one of those raffle tickets, it automatically gets you into the fishing contest and gets you a hole in the fishing contest. And then once you get there, we got all sorts of fun to have. In addition to the fishing, which we have 10 real nice prizes for the largest fish, we've also got 9 other raffles that we do on the ice. So this is a major fundraiser for the Lions.
So you can come on out to the lake and just as a viewer, and if you want to just hang out there and watch, and you can buy tickets and.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, you don't have to fish. You can come and buy tickets all you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, but as you were saying, so if you buy a ticket it says here $4 of that goes to fishing, and then
Correct.
$6 of that is into the raffle, and you're
Yep.
automatically in it.
Yep.
Great.
Yep. Exactly.
That's good to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So some of the other raffles that we're going to be doing out there, we think we're going to have a Panoptics ice bundle out there as one of our prizes. Running into little problems on that this morning, so I'm not sure on that one 100%, but I think that's what we're going to have. We got a Honda generator we're giving away. We've got a really nice Mossberg 100th anniversary shotgun that's been donated by Vista Outdoors. Let's see, we've got a Strike Master auger, we've got an Otter fish house, and a
Wow.
Vexilar FLX 30. So it's all real nice stuff. $10 tickets on most of that. We got a couple of them that are $20 tickets. We sell a limited number of tickets on those. We also are doing a 50-50 raffle where you share half the pot with the Lions, so whatever comes in on that. And then we always do what we call our red and our blue raffles. All of the retailers in Princeton are very generous to us, and we get a lot of merchandise. So we might get a gift basket of something or another, and we might get a gift card for flowers or a gift card for some gas, for pizzas, or who knows what. But we throw them all in different buckets, so they're all about the same value. And we'll have 60 prizes, 30 for the blue raffle and 30 for the red raffle. All those typically run about $150 to $200 in value. And those are also $10 raffles
Wow.
that we do as well. So
Is this your biggest fundraiser, the
it is.
fishing
It is our
tournament?
largest
Okay.
fundraiser, yeah.
Yeah.
I know you guys have been busy selling these tickets all over the place. So do you have to be there to win, present to win, or how does that work?
It's a great question. To buy the $10,000 raffle, you do not need to be present to win. So, but the other raffles will be sold on ice, and you do need to be present to win them.
And where can people get tickets to fish and, if they want to be part of the contest?
Great question. So we've got 3 spots, 3 different retailers around the area that are actually selling tickets. We've got Marv's True Value, Prince Bait, and Tails and Trails. Prince Bait's in Malacca, Tails and Trails in Zimmerman. So those 3 places have pre-sale tickets available to them. The Lions have been out selling tickets Friday evenings from 3 to 6 o'clock. Colburn's pretty regularly. The off sale has let us sell their Teals, Super Value in Malacca, Prince Bait up in Malacca. So if we've got enough manpower, we try to hit all them spots. But it's been 2 or 3 spots each night. And then also Saturday mornings from 9 to noon, we sell most of the time at Colburn's and then maybe at the liquor store as well, where the high traffic areas are.
Yeah.
Right on.
What if you decide the day of, I think I want to go fish? Do you need to buy them in advance?
No,
or-
you do not.
Okay.
Tickets are for sale on ice. Yep,
Okay.
yep.
So you can come out there, the holes are already
Yep,
drilled and.
yep. Weather is such a big factor on this thing. If it's a nice day, you get a big crowd and lots of kids. If it's a cold day, well, it increases your odds because the number of
Exactly.
people is down. But we're praying for a good day. We've moved our contest to the end of February. It's the last legal Sunday of the year for walleyes and northerns. But we had to kind of do that because we had conflicts with the Super Bowl and with the Indy 500 and other big fishing tournaments that are up on Mille Lacs Lake. So to avoid that competition, we went to the last Sunday of the month.
And does it bring a lot of people into town, or would you
Typically
say
about 1,000.
Okay.
Yeah, and about 100 of them have been kids. We do really want to encourage the kids to come out. We've got a lot of lures that we give away to the kids. We got a special kids raffle that we do, number 1. Just different prizes again that are donated that we think are appropriate for the kids. We do them. There's no cost for the kids raffle, so kids come and enjoy the day for free on the raffle side. They do still have to have a ticket in order to fish.
Okay.
Parents can buy those tickets for them, and you can have, up to 2 holes per person, just like you would regular fishing. But back to the kids raffle again. There'll be 15 prizes for them, and then every kid is going to get a Dairy Queen, a candy bar, and a fishing lure. So
Wow.
all the kids are going to be winners. So bring as many kids out as you can. And we got a really nice donation, real generous donation from Lindy Pradco, Lindy Riggs or Lindy Line of Fishing. They gave us a couple hundred different lures, and they're very nice lures. So all the kids are going to be taken care of.
Sounds like a really fun day.
Yeah,
And a lot of work to put this on.
it is a huge endeavor.
For those of us who love to eat,
Yeah.
are you guys having food trucks or what's available to eat out there?
That's a great question. We do. We got Pizza Barn going to have their food truck out there. They're a little nervous about having their truck on the ice, but they're going to be parked on the landing, and then they're going to be shuttling food out to the fishing area itself.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. I'll just touch a little bit on the ice.
Yes.
And I don't know, you guys stop me if you want to call this,
No.
bring it to an end or not. But this year, the ice conditions have been a little bit iffy around the area, and a lot of the fishing contests in the area have already canceled. We're quite confident that we will have a fishing contest. It's just in what manner, form. We've got a plan A, B, and C. Plan A is where we would typically go right out to this big hump out in the middle of the lake that we park all the cars out there. We plow a big circle out there and have plenty of room for parking out there. This year, with all of the snow that we got early in the year, we had some ice, maybe 6 inches of ice, and we got all this snow, and it created a lot of slush on top. And that makes it really difficult for things to freeze up. And it's been really tough going out there so far, but this cold snap has been much a welcome sight that we're getting. And it sounds like right now most of that slush is froze up. We need to have a minimum of 16 inches of ice to have cars parking out there, 16 to 17 inches. We're confident that we're going to have that, but just in case we can't, what we would do then is we've got off-site parking, and we would bus people to the lake. We would walk out from the landing, we would move our site close to the landing then. And if for some reason we couldn't even do that, which I can't imagine the reason why we can't, we would probably do an on-land fishing contest where we would just, everybody would come that bought a fishing ticket, and they would get like an Easter egg or a film canister or something with a fish weight in it, and then they would bring it up and register it. So
fun.
That's a possibility, but I think we're really hoping we can actually have the fishing contest.
Well, I'm glad someone appreciates this weather.
Yeah.
You really do.
I pray for cold weather.
Yes. That's for sure.
Yep.
Well, good. Any other questions for Scott?
I think you've answered all of mine.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You can go
Scott.
online to our Lions website. If you just Google Princeton Lions, you should either go to our website or our Facebook page, and you'll find information about that. All the rules are posted online, as well as frequently asked questions. So if you got any questions, just look it up, or you can call me too. I don't care. 763-498-4902. And I got tickets for sale.
Tickets are always for sale.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks
Thank
so
you.
much, Scott.
Thanks for all you guys do for our community. It's
Thank you.
appreciated.
Yeah,
And
really want to say thank you to all the businesses that support us too. We just can't appreciate or can't express our thanks to them enough. They really support us.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
In Princeton Public Schools, we're wild about kindergarten.
Roar! Do you know every tiger has their own stripe? No two are the same.
Just like every child has their own strengths and needs.
No two are the same. In Princeton Public Schools, we help every tiger cub discover their very own unique stripes, strengths, and needs.
See for yourself why 97% of primary parents choose Princeton Public Schools. My children love it here.
And we are back. Our second guest today is Ben Barton from Princeton Public Schools. We're excited to hear from him today. Ben has been an educational leader for over 24 years. Prior to becoming the superintendent of Princeton Public Schools in 2018, Ben served as the superintendent of Caledonia Area Public Schools for 6 years. He also served as a principal in Eastern Minnesota schools for 9 years. He began his career as a health and physical education teacher, a wrestling, football, and track coach. Welcome, Ben.
Hey, it's great to be here.
We got a big crowd here.
Yeah,
Big crowd today.
there we go. It's great to be here, everybody. It's a great day to be alive. It's a great day to be around so many Princeton Tiger graduates. I'm a big believer that schools in every community across our country, represent the town as a whole. I mean, I know I'm kind of biased when I say this, but I think your schools are really the heartbeat of any community, and we're proud to serve in that capacity.
For sure. Tell me, what made you decide to get into education in the first place?
Well, this is going to seem kind of cheesy and cliche, I guess, but I mean, it's an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of others. I mean, when we're all trying to figure out what we want to do with our lives, you want to try and match your value system with how you want to spend your time and how you want to make a living to put food on your table for your family. So I wanted to be able to have a position where I could truly feel like I was making a difference in the lives of others. And certainly as an educator, we have that opportunity to do that every day.
Did you know that right out of the gate of high school that you wanted to do that?
I don't know that I did. I know that I loved the school experience. I was one of those students that was involved with just about anything that you could be a part of. I loved, and I was, I had one of my coaches back in school really drilled it in my head that it's important to be well-rounded and not just have all your eggs in one basket. And so I was heavily involved in athletics, but also was in choir and band and the musicals and those kinds of things. So I enjoyed that experience. I didn't necessarily know exactly what I was going to do. I was heavily recruited to either play football or wrestle in different colleges and universities. And I chose wrestling, and that brought me to the University of Northern Iowa in Cedar Falls, Iowa. And that was widely known as one of the top education schools in the Midwest anyways. So I just kind of fell into that as I went.
How long did you wrestle for?
Well, I wrestled my whole life, but I wrestled for all 5 years in college. University of Northern Iowa is a Division I college for wrestling. Actually, right now, I think I just saw that they're ranked 12th in the country. And having a strong season, I had an opportunity to wrestle in 3 Division I national championships.
Wow.
There. Yep. And, travel the country. Mm-hmm. And those are some of the greatest memories I have in my life. I went there, I was taking 18 credits of college, preparing to be a teacher, and I got married in college to my high school sweetheart, Jody, and we had our first child, Brady, right away. I think we were 21 years old. We lived in married student housing, and doing all that and traveling the country, like I said, wrestling from the East Coast to the West Coast. We'd wrestle all Big 10, Big 12 schools. The only year that I didn't make it into the Division I national championships was a year that I got injured right before the regional qualifier. And my senior year, I did finish in the top 10 in the country, and I was one short of being recognized as All-American. So, that's one thing. There's certain things back in your life that you think about that you'd like to get back.
Uh-huh.
There's a couple matches there that I wish I could go back and redo.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, I know just from wrestling myself that sometimes when cutting weight and weight classes can make a big difference on how you feel and perform. What was your, weight class that you were at, or how much weight did you end up having to cut during college?
Well, in high school I was a 189 pounder, and I thought for some reason that I needed to cut weight in college, and I did my first couple of years, and I did drop down, and when I look back in hindsight, probably one of the worst decisions that I've ever made. If I was going to give any advice to any wrestler nowadays, I would definitely not recommend to cut that kind of weight, because you lost all your energy and strength. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're literally, for me anyways, at the top peak health performance that you'll ever be in your life, and you'd walk out on the mat and you'd be tired right away. Mm-hmm. And, I think for me it was because of the drastic, weight cutting that happened. Now, when I did decide as a senior to just move up a weight class, and that was actually during the time that they had changed some of the weight classes in college wrestling. So that was at 197, and I still had to cut weight. I mean, I was naturally probably, I don't know, 210, 215 at the time, and like I said, top peak health performance I'd ever been in, and I still had to, watch what I was eating, because you were working out 8 hours a day, almost 365.
Wow.
That was a long, long time ago.
But I think it's interesting to note that, you still think about that you're one spot away. Not that you're thinking of it every day, but there is a psychology part of sports, I think, that I realized the most during 2020 in COVID, when that season, got cut. And, my son was a senior and kind of was going for a school record that year for track, and it was just taken.
Yeah.
And it's those, and you just think about it so much. There's like this mental psychology piece of it, mental health.
And I thought a lot about the mental psychology piece of it, and I think that's helped me as a teacher and a coach and a school leader, in that, what I really learned from that, and what if I really could go back and talk to myself back then, I tell myself to focus more on the journey than the outcome, right? There was so much stress and anxiety worrying about, geez, am I going to win or lose? And, it really isn't about win or losing. It's about going out there and just giving your greatest performance, putting everything that you have out on the line, doing all the right things, and the outcome's going to be the outcome. Let the chips fall where they're going to fall. So focus on the journey and have confidence that if you're doing all of the right things, if you're focusing on what you're going to do, you're going to have a strong likelihood of winning. And some prime examples of that is I'd walk off the mat sometimes with my hand held up as the winner, and I'd walk off the mat and I'd feel terrible because I felt like I didn't give it my all. And I felt like I held back, or I maybe might have stalled a little bit at the end, or I didn't, but sometimes I would lose and I'd walk out the mat, and even though I lost, I felt great about myself. Like I felt like I gave it my greatest performance, everything I had, I put out there. And, sometimes you lost, but you felt good about it. My feeling on how it went was more about, my performance and the journey versus the outcome. And if I could go back and tell myself that back then, I think that would really help with the nerves. And I think the nerves and the anxiety are a real barrier to sports, but also anything that you do in life.
Yeah, I think that same concept could be applied to kids in school, young adults, people just starting their journey in life. Exactly what you just said is right to the T, with not worrying so much about having to accomplish all these things by a certain age, or you got to have this done, or you have to get this accomplished by this. That puts so much stress and pressure on people, rather than just enjoying the process and learning and just giving it your all on something that you actually enjoy and like.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the business of human beings, right? And a big part of what we do in the planning that we're in the middle of, continually improving, is to try and find ways to help our students identify who they are, and everybody's trying to figure out in life, like, who are they as an individual? And it's ways to help them understand what are their values, what do they care about, what are their interests, what are they good at, those kinds of things. And then matching that with exposing them to all kinds of different opportunities that are out there, and hopefully, as I indicated before, matching your value system with what you want to do and spend your time doing in life.
That's true.
I have a question. I love this. It's all about Ben, and it's fun to get to know you personally. And so I think it's so cool that in the position that you're in right now as superintendent, all of the different things that you've done. I mean, you were a student, high school athlete, college student, elite college athlete. You've been a teacher, a principal, superintendent. What has been the best, most enjoying part of your journey? Your journey has been, from college athlete to now you're the superintendent. What in the middle? What was the best for you? When were you what did you enjoy the most? You know, being with the students or staff? It's so different.
Well, one other thing that I hadn't shared with you is I was a college professor during all of that as well at Winona State. That was a very enjoyable part for me, is to be able to teach our upcoming educators so that they can make a difference in others' lives. But you know, I would say that every single part of my journey as an educator, I've enjoyed every single part. I can't say that I liked one more than another, but I always considered myself to be a leader in everything that I was a part of. And that's really what got me into wanting to be a principal and then a superintendent, is the opportunity to impact more lives at a larger scale. And, you know, as a teacher, you know, you have an opportunity to impact a limited number of students, and then as a coach, a broader range. But then as you roll into the principalship and the superintendent, that broadens that opportunity to, you know, really make a difference in the lives of all of your students.
That's awesome. I think that is just great that the experience that you have, you know, in the highest position in our district right now, that experience that you have in all aspects of everything. It's so important that you've actually lived through all of those experiences to be good at what you do.
Yeah, you know, I also think being a parent it really helped me be good at what I do too. You know, being a superintendent, for sure, it's kind of like you're a conductor of an orchestra where you have, you know, literally dozens of different instruments they're completely different. They look different. They sound different. You have to know different things about those, but you need to be able to get all of those different pieces of music and instruments playing together to make harmonious music. So in my role, a big part of it is trying to understand and anticipate the needs and the desires of all of our different stakeholders, from our students to our team members. And with our team members, there's just such a variety of different team members, from teachers to IT to health to counseling, food service, transportation, the list goes on and on. But, you know, we also have parents as stakeholders. We have businesses as stakeholders, community members, taxpayers. So you have all of these different entities trying to get everybody to work together to make harmonious music. But at the end of the day, fully understanding that our number one purpose for why we're here is for our students, and not forget that. Our students are number one. If it wasn't for our students, we wouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm. Kim, I know we did a poll on Facebook not too long ago. We made a post, and we had asked the community some questions, or what questions they would want to ask. Do we have some of those?
I'm not sure. Well, we do have one that we actually had someone ask me in person, and it was about transportation and the buses, and how it was during a stretch of cold, snow, all of that we had not long ago with what, you know, so I guess my question for you then, Ben, would be, what goes into the decision to cancel school?
So what goes into that decision?
Yeah.
Well, an interesting, funny with that statement is just not too long ago, I was, you know, you get really close with all the other superintendents in the region and the state, and I had a superintendent tell me, he said, geez, I just had a parent tell me that they're going to send me the bill for their child getting stuck in the snow because I didn't cancel school. And then about an hour later, I was talking to another student or a superintendent, and he says, yeah, I just had a parent say they're going to send me a bill for childcare because I canceled school. You know, two exact opposites, right? And, you know, with those kinds of decisions, and I think there's more and more decisions like this where, you know, there's going to be some people happy, some people not happy and angry. And I think we're in a day and age where people have more of abilities to express their thoughts on that, certainly through social media. So that's a little bit tricky. But when we do, you know, nowadays technology has allowed us to anticipate when we're going to have some weather issues. And I'm thankful that we have a strong relationship with the National Weather Service, and they started a process a few years ago where they will have webinars with all school leaders, colleges, large organizations, to give very specific updates, more than what you would hear or see on the local news stations. So I will, what generally starts all of it is I'll start participating in those webinars where they'll be able to tell us with what level of certainty and timing different weather patterns will come through our region. And so it will start with that. When we have a high probability that there will be something, I always like to try and call things the night before, if that's possible. Sometimes that's not possible. Actually, probably more often than not, that's not possible. And when those mornings come, it will typically start with a webinar that will happen at 3 to 4 in the morning, because the National Weather Service, they're 24/7. So they will provide an update to see if any changes has occurred with any weather patterns. The night before, my phone will blow up with correspondence with all of our area superintendents around central Minnesota, kind of getting an idea of what they're hearing and seeing and thinking. We'll have conversations with our transportation department and line up to have 2 to 3 people out driving our roads in our city and townships to get an idea of where things are at. So when that morning starts, it generally starts with the alarm going off at 3:30 in the morning. You try and get your cup of coffee before you're starting with lots of texts and phone calls and webinars and those kinds of things. And then we try and make a call by a certain point, and sometimes you feel good about your call, and honestly, there's been some times that I'm like, geez, I think I got that one wrong, and you really judge yourself on how you thought you did. But the tricky thing is with Princeton Public Schools was we're proud to be able to serve 12 townships as well as the city of Princeton. And what many people may not know or realize is that we have more of our students that live out in our townships than actually in the city. And every township has different variables that they're dealing with, different kinds of roads, different landscapes, and different resources and abilities to plow the roads. So that's something we're just ongoing, trying to find ways to improve. It's really tough when we have to call off school when I'm confident that 90% of the school districts is pretty good and we get our students in, but 10% isn't. So we're actually reviewing, what are some options that we could possibly have school, but just not be able to go down certain roads if they're not safe to send buses down. And our buses aren't meant to go out. There's no 4-wheel drive. Mm-hmm. And I think we've all driven through storms and white knuckled it, and we all realize how stressful that is. And then if you put yourself in the shoes and be a little bit empathetic of our bus drivers, mm-hmm. who are driving this huge bus that doesn't have 4-wheel drive and has the lives of all of these students in their hands as they're driving down these treacherous roads, these country roads. I have such high respect for them. And that's why it just breaks my heart when I hear, people being critical of bus drivers, because, I'm just so thankful for everything that they do for our community and our students, because without them, we won't be able to get our kids to school. Mm-hmm. And it's a hard job. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I remember when I was in elementary school, before, gosh, do I even dare say it, internet? Well, we'd have to watch the news scrolling to see if school was canceled or delayed. And Kim and I grew up on a dirt road. And I remember, it would not get plowed for days, and there'd be 2 feet and the drifts across, and sometimes our bus would be at the end of the road, and we'd be standing at the end of the driveway, and we would look, and it would be like, come on, like walk down the road a half a mile through the snow and to get on that bus, because there's no way they were getting through on that. And, we're only, 5 miles out, 3 miles out of town. So I think that is tricky, and people don't understand that, when they're in a situation where, maybe in the city or they're on a plowed road, like, why is school canceled? Well, it's, everybody doesn't have the same situation. So it's tricky. And those bus drivers, like you said, that is such an important job, and kudos to them.
I'm thankful we have invested in some new technology in our parents and families. We'll start rolling this out. We're piloting some new programs right now. It's called TransFinder. We had to put the whole backbone in for us to have at the bus company and the school district, and now we'll be rolling out an app where families will be able to see real time where the bus is at any given time, and we should be able to have some push pin alerts out to families on specific routes and roads if we're not able to get down those certain roads. So there's some other capabilities that we will be piloting to see if we can implement. Our hope is to do that as soon as possible and hopefully roll out next fall. But I guess the thought is if you can order takeout or order delivery and see where your pizza's at and en route to your home for delivery, why can't we do the same thing for our buses? And that technology is being implemented. We need to be really thoughtful to make sure that that's implemented the correct way. So we have some of our team members piloting that right now to work out all the bugs so that we can implement that hopefully next fall.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, super helpful too. Like for the days that it is like a winter storm, or just you just want to know where your kid's at, or where even
It's
if
taking a while.
for sports or just after school, just knowing where your kid might be on the bus and when they should arrive. Or that's awesome. It's very nice.
Funny story. I mentioned that my husband's on the school board, and it was I think 2 or 3 years ago where we had tons of snow. It was cancellation, and the kids completely gave Chad credit. Like when school was back in, they were chanting Chad for canceling school.
Well, good. He could get all the credit.
Yeah, he gets all the credit for happy kids.
Oh my gosh. And I love, Ben, when you're on social media. That's part of my job. I'm on social media all day long. And I'll see kids like tag you. Hey, at Ben Barton, we should probably cancel school because my car doesn't run very well, or it just makes me giggle.
They're pretty funny.
I'm out of gas.
Yeah, they've gotten to be pretty savvy in terms of tagging me and starting to send little notes, getting things in my ear to cancel school.
That's
Absolutely.
pretty funny.
Yeah, I think you were walking in one time, or maybe it was Barb. She was walking into the school, and Jake was coming back from a chiropractor appointment or something. And she said, "Hey, how are the roads out there?" And of course, Jake's like, "Oh, he's like, not good, not good at all. I think we should probably cancel school."
Yep, I hear a lot of that. I tell you what, here's a funny story from, we had one day that we had an early release that actually that's one of these days that I really wish I would have made a different decision, because we got walloped with a snowstorm in the afternoon, and we had an early release at about 1. And that was a day where I looked out my window and it was noon and it hadn't snowed at all. Oh, geez, did I make the wrong decision here? I should have kept the kids in all day. Well, then it starts to snow a little bit, and I'm like, okay, we'll be fine. Well, I researched the heck out of that storm, and I thought I had it kind of dialed in, but I couldn't have been more wrong. It was like we were in advisory, not a warning. We were supposed to get snow, but not that way. But we ended up being like in the heart of this thing, and we just got hammered. And here's the funny story I was going to share is, that was a day that I got in my truck and I was just out trying to help everywhere I could, from the bus company to getting buses and vans out unstuck. But I did make my way to the high school, and I found that we had lots of our students that were stuck in the parking lot. And some of these folks that have these big trucks that really look like they're powerful and they're really loud, right? But they couldn't get out of the snow. So it was kind of funny, hooking up to those things, those big old trucks, and pulling them out with my little truck, and kind of razzing them a little bit. I think this guy had a big old Ford that was really loud and looked powerful, and I had to pull him out with my Chevy. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah, that's poor Chevy.
Okay. All right. Well, I had a question for you. We had what was the biggest myth about your position?
Well, that's a hard one to answer, actually. I think maybe the biggest myth might be, I feel like, and this is going to be kind of serious, is that, there's this thought that in public schools we can put some big force field around our schools to keep all of societal issues out of our schools. And that's just not the reality. Is our schools are a microcosm of the greater society. We serve 3,300 students, and we have about 500 team members. And it's the most populated place on any given day in our community, and in most communities, where you have a building full of human beings that are forced to really all be together, right? And outside of school in those settings, people don't need to be around other people. Mm-hmm. And it's a place where you have all kinds of different, every student's different. And that's the beautiful thing about what we do. But there's all kinds of different backgrounds and environments that our students come with. And again, this is going to sound super serious, but I don't think anybody can argue with how polarized our society is and how divisive it is. You see that just everywhere. And there's a lot of hate and there's a lot of evil out in society. So we really work hard to try and get all of our students to be in an environment where the conditions for learning are the best that they can be, where every student feels like they're safe and respected and like they belong, that's free of discrimination and racism, and just trying to get everyone to be kind to each other so that, ultimately we're an organization of student learning. But we need to have the conditions for learning to be there for people to learn. And we have this great challenge, really, where all of these things in society persist in school. And we don't have a force field to keep everything out. And, we're working really hard. Our educators are working really hard to give our students the greatest experience that they possibly can. And there's been, certainly increased challenges after the pandemic, where our students were home for a couple of years. So, there's no force field to keep societal issues outside of the school walls.
Yeah, and especially nowadays with social media being so quick at everyone's fingertips. If something happens in town or Twitter or Facebook, everyone knows about it right away. With so many channels, the information download is so quick. So to try and block certain things going on in the outside world to stop that from coming into a school or affecting anything that's happening is hard. So,
well, what's even harder is that, many times and more often than not, that information that is out there on those social media channels is inaccurate. Mm-hmm. And, we really work hard with our students to promote higher order thinking, for our students to research, analyze information, synthesize information, and use information that's backed up with logic and some sources that are legitimate, right? And that's what we promote in our students. But and I think that we're doing a good job of that. But when sometimes I feel like when things are thrown out on social media, that people consider that as the gospel, right? And and that's everywhere. That's not a Princeton thing. That's a nationwide global piece right now. And just getting people to focus on accurate information is very important.
Yeah, but just like trying to credit it too. Like, where is this source coming from? What is it? Is it true? Is it not?
And honestly, that's one of the greatest skills, or one of the big skills that we need to teach our students is, trying to filter through all of this information that's coming at them and understand what is credible and what is not credible.
Right. That's good. Our next question was, what was the biggest challenge that you are facing at the moment or have?
Well, there's lots of challenges in what I do. I need to just start with our mission, which is Princeton is an innovative leader in instruction, developing in every learner the ability to succeed in every changing world. So the big word that I talk to our students about and our staff members and team members about is that word every, right? That's one of the greatest challenges in what we do. In our mission, the word every letter is capitalized, right? And I get a little philosophical when I talk about this because I'm so thankful to be able to live in this great country, United States of America, right? And when I think about it, I think about what our country is known for, and it's really about democracy. And one of the greatest examples of democracy, I feel, is public education. This one place where every person, every child has the opportunity to a free and appropriate public education to achieve their hopes and their dreams. And we celebrate the fact that every one of our students are different and have different backgrounds, and that everyone has different gifts and talents, but also different challenges that they come to us with. But when they walk through our doors, we want to be able to remove all barriers so that everybody has this equal, equitable opportunity to reach their potential as a human being. So, that's really one of our great challenges, and to try and focus and get back to the basics of student achievement. We've struggled, just like every school has struggled through the pandemic, where we lost some learning. And, my message to our team members from the beginning of the year and still is that, my commitment to you is to try and block out all the noise so that we can focus on what we're here to do. Our teachers want to teach, and our students want to learn. And we have a recipe that we feel is strong, and it really starts with our prerequisite to learning, which is to provide the conditions for learning where their students feel safe, respect, and like they belong, right? And that's we have to be very intentional. Like, we don't have a magic wand to say everybody's going to walk through the doors and be kind to each other and be ready to learn.
So how do you guys approach that? When people come in, how do you set that stage to make people feel comfortable, welcome, guard down, a comfortable spot to learn?
Well, there's a lot of pieces to that, and there's just not one answer.
Right.
One of it starts with having the truest sense of safety is having your physical conditions are safe, right? And we spend a ton of time in our district working with law enforcement and emergency personnel. We meet multiple times a month to create protocols, and we practice those protocols and tabletop exercises and other areas to ensure that we have prevention measures, mitigation, and response to any kind of emergency that might happen. So the physical side of what we do is really important, making sure that our buildings are well maintained and safe. But then also, I think most folks that have had children in our district, they've heard of the term Tiger Pride. And really that's our word that summarize what we call positive behavior interventions and supports. And we're very intentional in our district to define what our expected behaviors are in all settings in our school district for our students and our adults. And we explicitly teach how to act in those environments and how to have the skills, and then we reinforce that, and we try really hard to reinforce expected behaviors with more positives than negatives, but certainly have redirects when we need to. We talk to our students about that. I've had the opportunity to speak to all of the middle school student body and the high school student body just about, talking about some things I've shared with you about this idea of public education and democracy and this opportunity for every child to pursue their dreams in life, right? So there's that piece too, but there's also the skill building component of, we might be able to define expected behaviors and teach it, but then there's also a set of skills that we need to help our students with, just be able to have self-control in different settings, to be able to work well with others, how to be able to disagree appropriately, so there's a lot of that happens as well, and we call those our habits of a tiger, or social emotional skill building. There's the mental health components associated with that. That's something that we have to have a high focus on as well. So there's just lots of different components associated with trying to create an environment where students feel safe, respected, and like they belong. And again, we are a microcosm of the greater society, and we are in the business of working with human beings, and human beings make mistakes, and we need to work through all of those mistakes with our students so that they can be prepared to live outside of the walls of our school and thrive into the 21st century.
Mm-hmm. It's a big responsibility.
So I'm going to put my parent hat on now and just say, through our conversation that we've had here today, I have been drawn to the fact that you keep talking about it's about the kids. Like, I realize as a parent we're stakeholders, and all these different stakeholders that the school has, but the fact that you keep bringing it back to the kids, and it's about them and feeling safe and having the most positive, safe learning environment that's got to be a challenge, and I appreciate that as a parent that seems to be a major priority for you.
Well, it really is, and ultimately, we're an organization of student learning, correct? But there has to be conditions for learning to take place. We all have been students. We all realized when we were in the classroom and something wasn't going well in our lives, or we heard a derogatory term directed towards us, or we were being bullied, or whatever was happening. And it could be things just outside of school, something happening at home. Your teacher could be given an MVP lesson, right? But if you're not in the right state of mind, you're not going to learn. And I think that's something that's really changed in education. It's funny, I had lunch with somebody in a setting. She was 97 years old, and she was a teacher, taught 50 some years ago. And she mentioned to me that they didn't spend any time 50 years ago, teaching students how to interact with each other. They just did. Well, that's not necessarily always the case anymore, and that's something that we just can't ignore. And so we have to be intentional about it, and we build systems in place after that in terms of having a strong curriculum where we have guaranteed viable curriculum for our students and opportunities for students, and really focus on best practices in instruction. And we have some of the greatest educators, I believe, in the state and the country doing their job every single day. And then we build interventions, a continuum of interventions for behavior and academics, throughout that, for that to happen. So I think that we have the right recipe. We do have lots of challenges to try and do that. And, one of the things I think that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention is the finance side of what we do, right? I think when people think about a superintendent right away, they think, I'm in my office crunching numbers every day, right? And there is a lot that goes into that, but we need to have the resources to be able to do what we need to do for our students. And I know our community expects great schools, right? But the reality that our community needs to know is we just did our audit. Right? And anybody can see our audit. And one of the line items in that audit says how much we receive in revenue in Princeton per pupil unit compared to the state average. We receive $2,200 200 or 500, I don't know the exact number, less per pupil unit than the state average.
Wow.
Right? We are doing more with less dollars. And if you do the math and you just say, okay, just take 2,000 times 3,300 students, just to say, hypothetically, if we were receiving on what the state average is for every other community in the state of Minnesota, okay, what we would be receiving for extra revenue, and what could we do with that? What additional programs could we be offering and services could we be offering? And Princeton is, one of maybe 15%, and this number changes every year, of districts in the state of Minnesota that don't have a voter-approved operating referendum. That means that we operate our schools based upon what we receive in our state aid. And, we're proud to be able to do that. And I think we're doing a good job of that, but it also is an increased challenge, especially when inflation and everything costs more. When we're going out to bargain with our different labor groups, I firmly believe they deserve strong raises, right? Just like anybody in any profession deserves, right? And there's a huge teacher shortage out there that communities will be, trying to wrestle with. Thankfully, our administration and our schools have been able to find team members to fill all of our positions. And you can't say that for all the other communities in the state now, but that's going to get harder and harder and harder for us to do, and we need to be able to create the conditions where people want to come and work. People that want to be teachers, right? People that want to be bus drivers, people that want to be coaches. Mm-hmm. And I think that there are people that want to do all of those things, but the challenges associated with those jobs have really increased and things have changed. And you mentioned social media. That's changed. So that's definitely a challenge that we have. And the other piece that's a significant challenge for us is we're going to have to do some things with our facilities in our community. We receive our aid from the state to operate our schools, but the way schools are funded. School districts are funded in the state of Minnesota. The buildings are the local community's responsibility. And our buildings, really are owned by the community and the taxpayers. And, right now, there are some issues that our board is really researching and analyzing. One of our newer pieces that we haven't communicated out as much with the communities. We're having some major space issues with our early childhood students. Right now, we have a waiting list where we could fill 2 full-day preschool programs like tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
But we don't have the classrooms to offer that. Mm-hmm. All of those programs are in the old hospital. Certainly wasn't designed to be a school, and we are tapped out for space. So we're not able to offer those opportunities because we don't have the space to do that. We also have some space issues with our Tiger Club that we need to find ways that we can offer more opportunities for that for our community as well. And then also I think folks know that we went out for a referendum and I think going on not quite 2 years ago that failed, but it was to address the needs at our high school, which is our oldest facility and our most utilized facility, mm-hmm. the most attended facility. And the original school square was built, I think, in the 60s, early 60s. All of those classrooms are several hundred square feet less than what the Minnesota Department of Ed recommends for classrooms. Wow. I think our community expects I think we're a blue collar community that really values technical education, career and technical education, and we're trying to align ourselves with that. And we have some significant facility needs to be able to do the things that we want to do to prepare our students for the careers outside of the walls of our school. So those are some things that, we're just going to have to continue to plan, get input from the community. And, at some point, we're going to have to go out and ask the voters to address what those needs are.
Yeah. When's the next opportunity to do that?
Well, there's actually 3 to 4 times each year that is in statute that allows a community to do that. I think there's an opportunity to do one in May, in the summer, and then in November. We're definitely not in a position to do anything in the summer, this May or this summer. The board will be analyzing some things. There potentially could be a possibility for a referendum next November. I think that, we learned a lot through our last failed referendum, and the board is looking at ways to possibly scale back a plan to maybe do a phased-in approach versus asking for everything we feel we need, and just address certain areas in a phased-in approach. And the board has clearly indicated that the number one area that they feel we need to focus on, and this is through the last referendum with input from the community stakeholder groups, is that we want to focus on the career technical ed areas. Our shops are too small. We can't do the things that you need to do in the 21st century. Right. We don't have enough space for the equipment that's aligned with what the industry standards are right now. And so those are some things that we want to address the needs now, but also we need to think about, these are our schools for our communities, and we're thinking about addressing the needs for generations to come, right? So anything that we would do would be something that would impact, people's children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and so on.
Absolutely.
It's kind of concerning. I mean, these are needs that we need now. Imagine what we'll need in 10 years or 15 to try and keep up. So
in our staff, we have amazing staff, and they're so proud that they're able to do such great, amazing things with the facilities that we have, right? And it's just we think that our students deserve the best. Just like when I was speaking about the operating dollars, a valid question that everybody should ask is why are each of our students worth $2,500 less in revenue than other communities in the state of Minnesota? Right? There's some real inequities that are out there in school funding, and whether or not your community has an operating referendum or not. And if you have an operating referendum, what are the equities and the taxation related to that? If you're in a community that has high property wealth and huge businesses and industry and manufacturing, you can have a huge operating referendum and it's not going to impact the taxpayers very much at all, right? But if you're in a smaller, more rural community with not as much property wealth, it's going to cost more for taxpayers to have an operating referendum. So, those are things that we talk to our legislators about all the time. We're happy that there's some discussion at the Capitol for some increased school funding possibilities, but even with any kinds of increases, it still doesn't bridge the huge gaps there are between community to community. And a question that we need to ask is, why should your zip code determine, the level of education that you have an opportunity to receive?
Right. Well said. That's good. It's good to know, though, because I didn't know any of that.
Well,
I don't think a lot of people, I feel like they don't know that either.
No, and I'm glad you touched on that. why are each pupil less, because I think that once this podcast gets out there, I think that's probably going to be a question people are going to say, why? Why are we less? And so it's the operating levy then, right?
Yeah, we don't ask our taxpayers for any additional dollars to operate our schools, right? We only receive what the state approves us to receive. And we're thankful that our community has supported previous bond referendums. We certainly, I don't know what we'd do if we don't have our new primary school. But there's another thing, okay? In true transparency, is that if our community grows like we're anticipating it may grow, we're going to already be out of space at our primary school. Right. So we're having space issues in our early childhood programming. We're going to have spaces issues at our primary school. Our building at the high school, has been built onto several times, and it's just we're trying to align ourselves with the 21st century and beyond, with what's relevant and innovative for today. Right. And the other piece too is just on the community education side of things is I think we could have 2 to 3 more gyms and they'd be filled 24/7. Right?
Absolutely.
There's just not enough space, and we're having to turn away all kinds of opportunities because we don't have the space. And I think what I hope people will realize is that our community is asking for these services, right? And I feel an obligation to be able to provide those services, but the only way that we're going to be able to improve our facilities and increase our square footage to offer more opportunities is to pass a bond referendum. So, one thing I do think is going to happen that will be in the works is we'll be asking people to participate in our process to be able to get, what is the criteria and what are the options that we want to buy into and get the input so that we can hear from folks and they can learn, and then we can base what decisions are made on a possible future referendum on that input as we move forward.
I think it kind of brings it back to what you said at the very beginning about the schools being the center of a community. And when we grow, it impacts everything in a positive way. Our businesses grow, we have more housing, more people are coming to the school district. It's like a snowball effect. So, when the schools do well, we all do well.
Well, I don't think I'm alone in saying that when somebody brings up a town or a community to me, my first thing goes to their schools, right? My perception of a community a lot of times is what is my experience with their school district. And, we firmly believe when the school does well, the community is going to do well. And we have this reciprocal partnership back and forth. We're kind of all in this together.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, you talk about the early childhood, and that, makes me happy because, enrollment is up, and it's a good problem to have.
It really is. And I referenced Tiger Club, right? And that's really some childcare services for families. And, there's shortages in that too, right? So how are we as a community going to be able to problem solve, to be able to meet some of those basic necessities in a community? And I think the school district plays a huge part of that. And what I hope and need our community to understand is the community and the school is one and the same. We're all in this together, right? Princeton Public Schools is Princeton, right? Princeton is Princeton Public Schools. We're all in this together. Our community members own this school, right? It's not that school, it's our school. And how can we help people see that this is our school? And when you take pride in your school, you want to support it. You want to say good things about it. You want to protect their reputation, right?
Amen to that. Here we go.
Yes. Go Tigers. Go Tigers, go Tigers, go. Love it.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have anything?
Well, I was gonna ask, I've been waiting to ask this question this whole podcast. So, Ben, we want to hear a funny story about your educator experience, an embarrassing moment or just something funny.
Okay, so I have a few, and they're not going to be that funny. Okay, so I remember my first year as a teacher. I was a teacher at Osseo Senior High School, and it was going to be Halloween. So I thought I was going to be that really cool teacher. And I went to the store, and I bought like boatloads of candy, right? And I was going to hand it out for all of my classes all day, and be that cool teacher, gave a kid candy, right? And I think they were 10th graders, so a bunch of 16-year-olds. So I had this big container, and I passed it around. I said, okay, take some candy, pass it around, take a couple pieces of candy, pass it around. So then I go and I do my attendance, and I look back, and the bowl hadn't even made it halfway through the line. And it was all gone. And I never did figure out who took all that candy.
One class.
One class.
Well, 16-year-olds.
And then I never,
for a Jolly Rancher.
I never did get to give it to all the rest of my classes, and I felt so foolish. Okay, so here's another story. And this is a story I don't know that I've ever disclosed to anybody because it really, truly is super embarrassing. So my very first, it's embarrassing because I was foolish. It was my first year principalship, and I was only like 27 or 28 years old. I might have been 28, and I was a principal at Hinckley Finlayson. And sidebar, I didn't want anyone to know how old I was. I was like I know I was the youngest person in the whole building, and I didn't want people to know that I was that young because I was, of course, was everybody's supervisor. So I was trying to act older, but I think they just knew. But anyways, so one of the very first things we were going to do, and I think one part of my job was I also led the student council. So I'm like, let's order T-shirts, and we'll sell these T-shirts, and we'll make a bunch of money off. Okay, T-shirt cost make $5 to make, sell them for $10. We'll make $5 per T-shirt, and we'll make money for the student council to do something. So anyways, I called this vendor, let's do these T-shirts, whatever. And they sent like a mock-up, right? And I didn't really look at the mock-up.
No.
I didn't, I'm just like, oh yeah, it looks good. So I didn't look at it closely at all. So it turns out I get a box of these T-shirts that come up, and one of my colleagues, he's another principal, and I'm like, hey, you got to look at these cool T-shirts. They just came in, right? And I hold it up. And he goes, Ben, I think they spelled Hinckley wrong.
Oh, no. No C?
Yeah, exactly. They didn't have a C. Uh-huh. So I had all, 500 T-shirts made.
Oh.
And they were the coolest things ever. But the name of the school was spelled wrong. So how big of an idiot was I?
Wow.
So then
Proofread.
I know it. So I learned something, but I don't think I've ever told anybody that, because what I ended up doing is I sent them back and I was like, you spelled the name wrong. And then they kind of did put something over the top of it. And then we just basically kind of gave them out to people. And then people say, this T-shirt's great, but everything's peeling off of it. It was a disaster.
Please tell me you have a T-shirt still.
I don't know. It might be in a bin somewhere. It's something I don't know that anybody.
Maybe we can reach out and see if we can buy one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd pay $10 for that.
That was a long time ago. But yeah, that's when I started my journey as a principal. And, of course I thought I, knew everything about anything. And now I look back and I'm like, I was such an idiot about so many things. I'll probably look at myself, myself 10 years from now will probably look at myself now and think that I was such an idiot. And that's where you just continue to learn and grow and continually improve in everything that you do.
Just evaluating yourself.
Yep.
So did you, after that experience, did you hire a student council advisor, or did you stay in that position as superintendent?
Well, I was a principal. But
Principal.
I don't know. I can't remember. I can't remember back that far. But yeah, that was a great experience for me.
I love it.
Yeah. So good.
Cool. Well, this has been fun. Thank you,
Really
Ben.
fun.
Yeah, I know that I feel like I talked way too much, and I know that in podcasts you want short and sweet, so I don't know what you're going to have to do for the editing side of this, because I just blabbered.
It's all
I
good
thought it was
information.
really great information. And we'll have you back again, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'd love to do it. There's so many huge aspects to running a school and such a big operation. From building the grounds to the finance side of it, HR side of it, to the teaching and learning, IT, list goes on and on. We could bring any of those folks in at any time. We'd love to be able to have you talk to some of our students, right? At the end of the day, that's why we're here. So I'd advocate for any time that you wanted to get some of our students at the microphone talking about their experience. We have some hugely talented students in our district.
I think that would be perfect.
I'd love it.
All
Very
right.
good.
Well, thanks everybody.
Thank you,
Go
Ben.
Tigers.
Yeah,
Go
thank you.
Tigers.
Thank you for joining us for our very first This is Princeton podcast. Thank you to Scott Leisman of Princeton Lions Club and Ben Barton, Superintendent of Princeton Public School District. Shout out to Princeton Public Schools for sponsoring our very first podcast.
We'll be back again with our second podcast on February 22nd.
Until then, this is Zach, Kim, and Mary signing off.
Podcast produced by Kitzman Creations, music by Charles Moe. Be sure to subscribe to the Princeton Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Also, to view our awkward moments, check us out on our YouTube channel and visit us at www.thisisprincetonmn.co.